नमस्कार, मैं हूं द्वितीय चंद अर्जुन। मैं बिलीव करती हूँ जो अच्छा स्पोर्ट्स करता है इनका शरीर बहुत अच्छा रहता है और खुद सुस्त रहता है और बाकी परिवार लोग को भी सुस्त रखने की कोशिश करता है। मैं ये मानती हूँ जो स्पोर्ट्स करेगा ज़िंदगी भर कभी बीमारी नहीं होगा। जैसे मैं अभी तक में कोई बड़ा बीमारी का सामना नहीं किया है। मैं स्पोर्ट्स करती हूँ इसलिए मैं खुद को सुस्त रखती हूँ और खुद को फिट रखती हूँ।
Hi, I'm Jinson Johnson, middle distance runner, national record holder in 1500 meter race, and gold medalist in 2018 Asian Games. I am confident that sports will restart across all categories. I am also putting special attention to make sure my mental state is always on point.
Hello, I am Neeraj Chopra, gold medal winner at the 2018 Asian Games in javelin throw and current national record holder. I look forward to seeing sports make a comeback and I am optimistic about the future of sports.
Hi, मैं हिमा दास, स्प्रिंटर एंड करंट इंडियन रिकॉर्ड होल्डर इन 400 मीटर। मैं ये मानती हूँ कि वातावरण के साथ हम सभी लोगों को एडजस्ट करना चाहिए। लॉकडाउन के दौरान मैंने अपने फिटनेस को और डाइट को काफ़ी ख्याल रखा ताकि मेरा स्किल अच्छी रहे, फिट रहे, इम्यून रहे।
Hi, I am Mohammad Nasaiya, sprinter and current national record in 400 meter. I am positive that the sports will make comeback after this pandemic and therefore advise all my fellow athletes to continue putting their hard work preparation for the training.
Hello everyone. So finally we are getting sports back on track, and as an athlete I'm really very excited and looking forward because we've been in such a situation where everything has come to a standstill, and everyone was at home doing nothing, and being a sports person, being an athlete, it was really hard for us to stay home without traveling or without any tournaments. So I think it's really good that now things have been changing and we've started getting back on track, and it's a good thing for every athlete because we can come back and focus on our sport and play the sport. So I'm really very happy and really looking forward for it.
Hi guys, this is Smriti Mandana, and I think there's definitely a headroom available to develop women's cricket in India, and I think the easiest way to develop is to reach the grassroots level. Try to get that passion in young girls. Give them better facilities and good skill training from at that young age. So I think there'll be a lot of interest, and then we'll be able to grow women's cricket overall and grow the interest of young girls to play cricket or want to be a cricketer much more, and we'll get a lot of more girls coming through the ranks. So if we want to take the game to the next level in India, I think this is the easiest way to do it, and I think we all should work towards that.
Hi everyone, this is Anjum Modgil. I hope everyone is safe and healthy. Like everyone knows, COVID-19 pandemic hit the world, and every person in the world are really hard, and same like the sports industry, there were many events getting cancelled or postponed. So this pandemic gave us an opportunity to look into things apart from the field we are into it. So it gave me opportunity to recover, which I think was much required for everyone, to spend time with the family, to take our creative side out and to find out what you can explore more about yourself. And yes, so that's how I spent most of my lockdown: painting, working on my online courses for my mental health, doing physical training at home, having unique ideas to exercise, staying at home.
नमस्कार, मैं हूं द्वितीय चंद अर्जुन। मैं बिलीव करती हूँ जो अच्छा स्पोर्ट्स करता है इनका शरीर बहुत अच्छा रहता है और खुद सुस्त रहता है और बाकी परिवार लोग को सुस्त रखने की कोशिश करता है। मैं ये मानती हूँ जो स्पोर्ट्स करेगा ज़िंदगी भर कोई बीमारी नहीं होगा। जैसे मैं अभी तक में कोई बड़ा बीमारी का सामना नहीं किया है। मैं स्पोर्ट्स करती हूँ इसलिए मैं खुद को सुस्त रखती हूँ और खुद को फिट रखती हूँ।
Hi, I'm Jinson Johnson, middle distance runner, national record holder in 1500 meter race, and gold medalist in 2018 Asian Games. I am confident that sports will restart across all categories. I am also putting special attention to make sure my mental state is always on point.
Hello, I am Neeraj Chopra, gold medal winner at the 2018 Asian Games in javelin throw and current national record holder. I look forward to seeing sports make a comeback, and I am optimistic about the future of sports.
Hi, मैं हिमा दास, sprinter and current Indian record holder in 400 मीटर। मैं ये मानती हूँ कि वातावरण के साथ हम सभी लोगों को एडजस्ट करना चाहिए। लॉकडाउन के दौरान मैंने अपने फिटनेस को और डाइट को काफ़ी ख्याल रखा ताकि मेरा स्किल अच्छी रहे, फिट रहे, इम्यून रहे।
Hi, I am Mohammad Nasaya, sprinter and current national record in 400 meters. I am positive that the sports will make comeback after this pandemic, and therefore advise all my fellow athletes to continue putting their hard work preparation for the training.
Hello everyone. So finally we are getting sports back on track, and as an athlete I'm really very excited and looking forward because we've been in such a situation where everything has come to a standstill, and everyone was at home doing nothing, and being a sports person, being an athlete, it was really hard for us to stay home without traveling or without any tournaments. So I think it's really good that now things have been changing and we've started getting back on track, and it's a good thing for every athlete because we can come back and focus on our sport and play the sport. So I'm really very happy and really looking forward for it.
Hi guys.
A very good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you so much for joining us for day 2 of CII Scorecard 2021. My name is Sachin Kumbhar, and it gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all. We shall be starting the proceedings in the next couple of minutes, but before that, a few important announcements. Since we are in a virtual space, it's a virtual event, please keep a charger or a power bank handy, and also place yourself where there is good internet connection so that you don't drop during the course of the session. And for a seamless experience, best would be that you view this event on a laptop. And I'm sure many of you would have questions for our esteemed panelists today. At the end of every session, we will definitely open the floor for Q&A. If you have any questions, request to type those questions in the Q&A section, mentioning first whom you want to address a question to, then your name, then the organization that you belong to, and then the question. That way it becomes simpler and easier for us to address the question to the right individual. Also, if you're watching this event on YouTube Live, you can definitely put in your questions in the comment box. We'll be able to take those questions from there as well. Thank you so much for joining in, and would like to mention that in the next couple of minutes, we shall be beginning a special plenary session with Sri Honorable Sri Ravi Mittal, Secretary Sports Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports Government of India, and partner Grant Thornton Bharat, Mr. Kunal Sood. That will happen in the next couple of minutes. In the meantime, we present to you some inspiring videos from sports personalities from across India.
This is Smriti Mandana, and yeah, I think there's definitely a headroom available to develop women's cricket in India, and I think the easiest way to develop is to reach the grassroots level. Try to get that passion in young girls. Give them better facilities and good skill training from at that young age. So I think there'll be a lot of interest, and then we'll be able to grow women's cricket overall and grow the interest of young girls to play cricket or want to be a cricketer much more, and we'll get a lot of more girls coming through the ranks. So yeah, if we want to take the game to the next level in India, I think this is the easiest way to do it, and I think we all should work towards that.
Hi everyone, this is Untitled. I hope everyone is safe and healthy. Like everyone knows, COVID-19 pandemic hit the world and every person in the world really hard, and same like the sports industry, there were many events getting cancelled or postponed. So this pandemic gave us an opportunity to look into things apart from the field we are into it. So it gave me opportunity to recover, which I think was much required for everyone, to spend time with the family, to take our creative side out and to find out what you can explore more about yourself. And yes, so that's how I spent most of my lockdown: painting, working on my online courses for my mental health, doing physical training at home, having unique ideas to exercise, staying at home.
नमस्कार, मैं हूं दीप्ति चंद अर्जुनावाड़ी। मैं बिलीव करती हूँ जो अच्छा स्पोर्ट्स करता है इनका शरीर बहुत अच्छा रहता है और खुद सुस्त रहता है और बाकी परिवार लोग को भी सुस्त रखने की कोशिश करता है। मैं ये मानती हूँ जो स्पोर्ट्स करेगा जल्दी वह कभी बीमारी नहीं होगा। जैसे मैं अभी तक मैं कोई बड़ा बीमारी का सामना नहीं किया है। मैं स्पोर्ट्स करती हूँ, इसलिए मैं खुद को सुस्त रखती हूँ और खुद को फिट रखती हूँ।
Hi, I am Jinson Johnson, middle distance runner, national record holder in 1500 meter race, and gold medalist in 2018 Asian Games. I am confident that sports will restart across all categories. I am also putting special attention to make sure my mental state is always on point.
Hello, I am Neeraj Chopra, gold medal winner at the 2018 Asian Games in javelin throw and current national record holder. I look forward to seeing sports make a comeback and I am optimistic about the future of sports.
Hi, मैं हिमा दास, स्प्रिंटर एंड करंट इंडियन रिकॉर्ड होल्डर इन 400 मीटर। मैं ये मानती हूँ कि वातावरण के साथ हम सभी लोगों को एडजस्ट करना चाहिए। लॉकडाउन के दौरान मैंने अपने फिटनेस को और डाइट को काफ़ी ख्याल रखा ताकि मेरा स्किल अच्छी रहे, फिट रहे, इम्यून रहे।
Hi, I am Mohammad Nasaiya, sprinter and current national record in 400 meter. I am positive that the sports will make comeback after this pandemic, and therefore advise all my fellow athletes to continue putting their hard work preparation for the training.
Hello everyone. So finally we are getting sports back on track, and as an athlete I'm really very excited and looking forward because we've been in such a situation where everything has come to a standstill, and everyone was at home doing nothing, and being a sports person, being an athlete, it was really hard for us to stay home without traveling or without any tournaments. So I think it's really good that now things have been changing and we've started getting back on track, and it's a good thing for every athlete because we can come back and focus on our sport and play the sport. So I'm really very happy and really looking forward for it.
Hi guys, this is Smriti Mandhana, and I think there's definitely a headroom available to develop women's cricket in India. And I think the easiest way to develop is to reach the grassroots level. Try to get that passion in young girls. Try to give them better facilities and good skill training from at that young age. So I think there'll be a lot of interest, and then we'll be able to grow women's cricket overall and grow the interest of young girls to play cricket or want to be a cricketer much more, and we'll get a lot of more girls coming through the ranks. So if we want to take the game to the next level in India, I think this is the easiest way to do it, and I think we all should work towards that.
Hi everyone, this is Untitled. I hope everyone is safe and healthy. Like everyone knows, COVID-19 pandemic hit the world and every person in the world really hard, and same like the sports industry, there were many events getting cancelled or postponed. So this pandemic gave us an opportunity to look into things apart from the field we are into it. So it gave me opportunity to recover, which I think was much required for everyone, to spend time with the family, to take our creative side out and to find out what you can explore more about yourself. And yes, so that's how I spent most of my lockdown: painting, working on my online courses for my mental health, doing physical training at home, having unique ideas to exercise, staying at home.
नमस्कार, मैं हूं द्वितीय चंद अर्जुनावाड़ी। मैं बिलीव करती हूँ जो अच्छा स्पोर्ट्स करता है इनका शरीर बहुत अच्छा रहता है और खुद सुस्त रहता है और बाकी परिवार लोग को सुस्त रखने की कोशिश करता है। मैं ये मानती हूँ जो स्पोर्ट्स करेगा जल्दी वह कभी बीमारी नहीं होगा। जैसे मैं अभी तक मैं कोई बड़ा बीमारी का सामना नहीं किया है। मैं स्पोर्ट्स करती हूँ, इसलिए मैं खुद को सुस्त रखती हूँ और खुद को फिट रखती हूँ।
Hi, I am Jinson Johnson, middle distance runner, national record holder in 1500 meter race, and gold medalist in 2018 Asian Games. I am confident that sports will restart across all categories. I am also putting special attention to make sure my mental state is always on point.
Hello, I am Neeraj Chopra, gold medal winner at the 2018 Asian Games in javelin throw and current national record holder. I look forward to seeing sports make a comeback and I am optimistic about the future of sports.
Hi, मैं हिमा दास, स्प्रिंटर एंड करंट इंडियन रिकॉर्ड होल्डर इन 400 मीटर। मैं ये मानती हूँ कि वातावरण के साथ हम सभी लोगों को एडजस्ट करना चाहिए। लॉकडाउन के दौरान मैंने अपने फिटनेस को और डाइट को काफ़ी ख्याल रखा ताकि मेरा स्किल अच्छी रहे, फिट रहे, इम्यून रहे।
Hi, I am Mohammad Nasaiya, sprinter and current national record in 400 meter. I am positive that the sports will make comeback after this pandemic, and therefore advise all my fellow athletes to continue putting their hard work preparation for the training.
Hello everyone. So finally we are getting sports back on track, and as an athlete I'm really very excited and looking forward because we've been in such a situation where everything has come to a standstill, and everyone was at home doing nothing, and being a sports person, being an athlete, it was really hard for us to stay home without traveling or without any tournaments. So I think it's really good that now things have been changing and we've started getting back on track, and it's a good thing for every athlete because we can come back and focus on our sport and play the sport. So I'm really very happy and really looking forward for it.
As PV Sindhu rightly said, we are looking forward to it. And she said, sports is getting back. And of course, we're eagerly waiting for that to bounce back even more aggressively. And you know what? It's nice to hear such inspiring messages and never say die attitude messages from some of the sporting personalities from India. Fit India is the new India. A very good morning to all our viewers and welcome to day 2 of CII Scorecard 2021. My name is Sachin Kumbhar and it gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all. The 6th edition of CII Scorecard comes at a unique time and prospect against the backdrop of the COVID-19 pandemic, which has severely changed all walks of our national life. As our nation gears up to recover from the impact of the pandemic, the resumption of sport is obviously so relevant for its demonstrative impact and positive values. With that, I would like to thank our sponsors for supporting this two-day virtual event. Mashal Sports, organizers of the Pro Kabaddi League, Tata Steel, Toyota Kirloskar, State Government of Victoria, Australia, and Oil India Limited. Thank you so much. This event will bring together leaders of sports management, policy making, and entrepreneurship from around the world of sport, including those who are leading the way with safe and secure sport in the face of COVID-19. And it's day 2. We have another interesting lineup of panel discussions revolving around the world of sports. But before that, let's applaud day 1 of the CII Scorecard 2021. The best word to describe yesterday's session is groundbreaking. We were graced by the presence of Honorable Minister of Sports, Shri Kiran Rijiju, who focused on carving the path ahead for India to become one of the biggest sporting nations in the world and India's quest to host the Olympics. We had sports ministers of 2 countries, India and the UK, in conversation, which was a first for India. We were fortunate to have the UK Sports Minister, Mr. Nigel Huddleston, who gave us insights, the best practices from sports development in the UK. Shri Rijiju also rallied for support from the UK Sports Minister, along with all the Commonwealth member nations, for inclusion of Kabaddi as an Olympic sport. And also the knowledge paper, which was launched by the Honorable Sports Minister. It is a report prepared by Grant Thornton Bharat and CII jointly, covering the roadmap for sports events in India in 2021. Later on, the second session of the day, Getting Sports Back on Track, brought us very insightful views from the global frontrunners of restarting sports events and leagues. This included representatives from the Premier League, the ICC, the NBA, and Star Sports. The final session last evening was a discussion on the future of mega sporting events in India, with a great combination of the Federation, the IOA, state governments, the Odisha Sports Department, and private sector with Transstadia. We were given views on where we are currently in the ability to bid for and host the prestigious Olympic Games and the way ahead. All in all, we had a very, very power-packed day 1, and now we are looking forward to day 2 of CII Scorecard 2021. Now, before that, I'm going to repeat a few important announcements since we are on a virtual space. Please see to it that you have a charger or a power bank handy, and also you place yourself where there's good internet connection. For a seamless experience, best would be that you view this event on a laptop, and I am sure many of you would have questions for our esteemed panelists today. At the end of every session, we will definitely open the floor for Q&A. For the same, request of you to please type your questions in the Q&A section at the top, mentioning first whom you want to address the question to, then your name and your organization name, and then the question. This way, it's easier for us to address the question to the right and respective individual. Also, if you're viewing this event on YouTube Live, you can definitely put in your questions on the comment box. We'd be able to take it from them and there and address it to the right individuals. With that, we begin with a special plenary session on the growing agenda for sport. This will be a one-on-one session with the key policymaker in Indian sports, where we hope to get views on all key focus areas from the Government of India's perspective. For the same, I would like to welcome Sri Ravi Mittal, Secretary Sports, Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, Government of India. Welcome, sir. Sri Ravi Mittal is a 1986 batch IAS officer of Bihar cadre. He was serving as a secretary in the Information and Broadcasting prior to this appointment by the Appointments Committee of the Cabinet, chaired by the Honorable Prime Minister. Sri Mittal has the experience of working both in the central government and the state government. He has also worked in the state of Bihar as Principal Secretary Industry and Principal Secretary cum Commissioner Commercial Taxes Department. In the center, he has worked earlier in Cabinet Secretariat and the Planning Commission. A warm welcome to you, sir, and thank you so much for joining us here today. Interviewing Sri Ravi Mittal today, we have with us partner Grant Thornton Bharat, Mr. Kunal Sood. He heads the public sector advisory practice of Grant Thornton Bharat. In the past 5 years, Grant Thornton Bharat's public sector advisory under Mr. Sood's leadership has focused on strategic and programmatic alignment with federal and certain state governments' priorities, including sports development, skill development, Make in India, doubling of farmers' income, smart infrastructure, and outcome-based results management, and several other areas. Mr. Sood also happens to be a part of the CII National Committee on Sport. So warm welcome to you, Mr. Sood. And before I hand it over to you, a gentle reminder to all our viewers to please send in their questions in the question and answer section, mentioning whom they want to address the question to. And alternately, if you're viewing this event on YouTube Live, please feel free to put in your questions in the comment box. With that, I hand it over to Mr. Sood. It's over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Sachin, and very warm welcome to everybody. Good morning. It was a pleasure to be part of day one, and day two happens to be equally power-packed. I think it was only appropriate that the minister opened day one for us, and all those inspiring visionary thoughts that he shared with us. And today we have the top policy maker for sports development in India. With those words, Mr. Mittal, a very warm welcome to you for this interaction. Thank you very much for making time and being here with us. Thank you for joining us here today.
Thank you, Kunal.
And I would like to start with an overarching kind of a question, Mr. Mittal, which is, sports has now been seen as contributing to different facets. So, it is considered to be the one which is driving tourism, something which is contributing to the GDP, creating jobs. At the same time, it is also now being seen as a driver for sustainable development goals. So there are so many outcomes, and I'm sure the ministry must be under continuous pressure as to which of these outcomes do we want to prioritize. So it'll be very interesting to know from you as the top policy maker as to how do you prioritize the outcomes that the ministry should deliver. Is it the GDP? Is it the SDGs? Is it the tourism? Is it job creation? Is it the national pride? It'll be very interesting to hear your views on that, sir.
So thank you, Kunal. Actually, I agree with what you said, that sports today has various facets. And it is an entertainment industry, it is sports, it contributes to GDP, it is a soft power, it contributes to all kinds of things. However, in the ministry, we want to concentrate on sports and let the other things happen automatically, or let us say, let CII and companies which represent CII really do the other things. So what we want to do is we want to concentrate on three aspects of sports. One is training and coaching. Another is holding tournaments so that our athletes get proper opportunity. Ensuring that our athletes go to the best tournaments abroad. Ensuring that they get the best of everything so that we do well in Asian Games, Commonwealth Games, Olympics, and so on and so forth. We have now also started a big Fit India campaign, as you know, and it has really become a people's movement. As my minister must have told you yesterday, if he had talked about it, we have got more than 30 crore hits on our social media, on our Fit India social media campaign. So this is another thing that we have started, is to make people fit. And in these COVID days, we have found that a fitter person is less susceptible to COVID, so people are taking it up. So what I'm trying to say is, we are concentrating on sports, we are concentrating on Fit India, and I think the other things will drop in automatically, because if sports comes, others will come.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mittal. I think that's a very crisp and a very clear response from you. It also helps us get the perspective of how ministry is looking at sports development and focusing on the core area, which is the athletes and the events. That also brings me to the next question, which is around the events. And everyone is now impatient about when do we start to see live events happen. It has made some progress. There have been some events happening. Cricket has opened up. There are a few others. I think Ministry had recently in December also issued some SOPs on how these events can start taking place, how the spectators can come back to the stadiums and see the live performances. So what is the view? At the same time, there are also risks around it. There are still challenges, still question mark on whether there would be another wave of COVID. So how do you do the balancing act? I'm sure it must not be easy at all, but keeping the two in focus, where we can't wait to have these events back on track. At the same time, there has to be enough caution. So your views would be interesting to know.
So as we are all aware, last year events had virtually come to a halt because of the situation. By and by, we started unlocking, and sports also started unlocking. Today there is no restriction on number of people in a stadium. So the stadium can come to full capacity. However, we have to follow the three protocols of COVID. That is social distancing. That is the main thing that has to be done in the stadium. So because of social distancing, perhaps stadium cannot come to full capacity because they have to maintain social distancing. We have started sending our athletes to international events. Our para athletes recently had gone to Dubai. Our badminton had gone for a badminton tournament, and so on and so forth. We have also started holding tournaments in India, as you have said. Cricket was held. We had a kabaddi championship last month. NRA is holding a championship, I think, in the second half of April. But we have a championship in India in badminton, and I believe boxing is also thinking of something in April, May. So we are encouraging Indian athletes to participate in tournaments abroad, and we are also encouraging our federations to organize tournaments in India. So we are okay with both. However, as I've said, we have to follow the COVID protocols. The bubble has to be maintained, and I think this will have to be maintained for the next 2, 3, 4 months till things become absolutely normal.
Right, right. And I think that's very reassuring for all of us that things are opening up, and it's a very positive note that you shared with us. Now, moving on, one of the observations that the Honorable Minister made yesterday, and he was quite vocal about it, and when he was discussing it with the minister from UK, he said the Olympic movement is not complete until Olympic comes to India. So I know, that's a dream for all of us as citizens, as people from the sports fraternity. But at the same time, it may not be easy just to wish for it and it will happen. So there must be a roadmap that needs to be pursued, the infrastructure, the engagement, building transport, having those cities which can host that scale of an event. What is your realistic view on this? How soon can India actually claim its place in hosting Olympics, and what should be the roadmap? What are the things that the private and the public sector, both at the center and the state governments, need to perform to actually realize that vision?
So, our minister very rightly said that if India does not have an Olympics, it is not complete, because we are 1/6 or 1/7 of the humanity. So India should definitely get an Olympics. Now, what we have started is that we have started looking at our infrastructure. So we have started looking at our inventory of infrastructure, and we are trying to find out as to what we need to construct more, or what we need to develop more for Olympics to come to India. we would like to make ourselves Olympic ready in a few years, infrastructure wise. I mean, so that, but then it is for the Indian Olympic Association to really bid and after consultations with us. So I hope that sooner than later, uh, uh, we should hear about Olympics in India, and I'm sure in the next decade, that is after 1930, we should get an Olympics in India.
Right.
Olympics
So
in 1928, I believe, are already fixed. So
right.
I am hopeful that in the 1930s we should get an Olympics.
Right. So that's great. I mean, at least we have a target in the 30s. We should be having Olympics in India. We also produced a knowledge paper, Mr. Mittal, and this was kind of our first attempt to see which are the cities that are building infrastructure, that are building the environment, the culture to host global events. And what we believe that, some of these cities, they've invested heavily in creating infrastructure. They are also making sure and there are 20 cities in India which have already hosted some level of global event. So which must be a very encouraging sign that we are not far off, and India being one of the largest economies among the top 5, aspiring to be a 5 trillion, so we are the only one which is left out now, from that Olympics movement to be hosting one. So looking forward to that. Thanks very much also for giving us at least a year where we are targeting to make that happen. Moving on, you mentioned about infrastructure, Mr. Mittal, and I understand that infrastructure, the kind of investment that goes in, will eventually bring out the results that we are looking for, be it in terms of medals, be it in terms of ranking that we have, be it in terms of the sportsmen or the grassroots that we are able to encourage, the talent that we are able to identify. Now we have seen that, while infrastructure, there have been various attempts by the center, by the state governments, the private sector has also been trying to contribute, but there is still a long journey that needs to be covered. So at the same time, there are options like private public partnership. There is trend that the CSR is now beginning to contribute towards building sports infrastructure, and there are various other, the private leagues are, some of them are very successful, and that some part of that money is also getting invested back into creation of grassroots. What do you think should be the direction going forward? Should it be the PPP? Should it be state governments looking at monetizing the assets that they have and bringing in the private sector to run them, operate them, upgrade them? Or you think there is a better way to address this whole issue of the infrastructure gap that we have in the country to promote grassroots as well as for the elites?
Sports needs world-class infrastructure. If we need world-class athletes, if we want Olympics, if we want world-class events, we need world-class infrastructure, both equipment as well as stadiums and things like that. Now, government, both state governments and central governments, have been contributing whatever they can to build sports infrastructure. But I think sports infrastructure cannot come without private sector participation and without the participation of federations. For example, recently, Honorable President had inaugurated this great cricket stadium in Ahmedabad. Now, this stadium has been built by BCCI through non-government means. I mean, government has not contributed financially to this stadium. So you are right that we need to put in both private sector and public sector, both efforts to build an infrastructure. And PPP in sports infrastructure is welcome. We have not done much in terms of PPP in sports infrastructure, and we are drawing up a plan in the next 2-3 months. We would be able to put it in public domain as to what we want to, how we want to build sports infrastructure through PPPs. Private investment is also welcome, and I would like to tell you that we have something called a National Sports Development Fund, where if the private sector contributes through CSR or otherwise, I mean, it is allowed. The CSR money can come to NSDF, and I believe if non-CSR money comes, even that gets some ATC exemption under the Income Tax Act. So we welcome contributions into National Sports Development Fund, and whatever the private sector contributes, we are willing to put in an equal amount for that particular work. For example, if the private sector wants to construct a small sports infrastructure, let's say 100 crore sports infrastructure at a place of its choice, and if it contributes 50 crores, government would be able to contribute another 50 crores and build that infrastructure. So both private sector participation and PPPs are welcome, and not just welcome, we like to promote them, because without them, I believe we will not be able to achieve what we want to achieve.
Right. These are great initiatives, Mithil, the matching grant, which will go in building infrastructure. So is this like specific to a project, or is it like contributing to a common fund and then the fund designs which infrastructure to prioritize, or will it be project to project basis?
So it can be both ways. For example, Coal India Limited has decided to help us. They have already contributed 25 crores, and they are willing to contribute another 50 crores, I believe, for construction of hostels for sportsmen. Similarly, State Bank of India has contributed some money for tops athletes. So it is for the private sector to decide if they want to contribute on a general way, they are welcome. If they want to contribute to a specific project, even that is allowed, so they are welcome. So it is for the private sector to really decide.
Right. And another thing that we have observed, and this is through our professional engagements as part of Grant Thornton, the work we are doing with some of the state governments in Punjab, in Odisha, we have seen that there is a lot of infrastructure which has got built but needs upgradation. For example, Odisha has very successfully created high performance centers. And what we have seen is that it's kind of a three-way partnership. So there is state government, which is either contributing through the land or the existing infrastructure. There is a kind of an academy which is coming in, which brings in the sports and specific knowledge, and then the CSR funds as the third partner to build the infrastructure or create the facilities. Any views on that, sir? Is that something which will be the norm going forward, a three-way partnership between CSR, the private sector, and the government?
So let me give you 2-3 views about it. Firstly, sports is a state subject, and state government should contribute to development of sports. And like the three-way partnership that you said, state government should contribute either on their own or through PPPs or through partnerships. So they should do it. However, we also want to help the state governments in doing it, and that is why we have decided to set up 100 centers of excellence in the country. And so we have requested the state governments to pick up things, infrastructure projects or places like these, where the state government has already built some infrastructure, where they require some government help, I mean central government help to improve that infrastructure. So we will provide them some money to improve their infrastructure, upgrade their infrastructure. We will also provide them some money to hire coaches and to really make it into a sports center. We can also invite or use private sector to contribute to that. So we are setting up 100 such national centers of excellence in the country. I believe 14 have already been sanctioned, and the next 2 years or so we will be sanctioning the rest of the. So national, if we can develop these 100 national centers, I believe it should give a fillip to the sports in the country.
Absolutely, absolutely. That again would be a great initiative. Just one clarification, Mr. Mittal, on the VGF. Is the sports infrastructure currently eligible for VGF? What could be, the mechanism to access viability gap funding? Because, increasingly the developers have given this feedback that sports alone on its own is not viable unless you bring in an element of retail, food, unless you bring in other events into the fold. Sports alone and the infrastructure is not financially viable, is the feedback that we have from developers.
So I fully agree with you. Sports by itself is definitely not viable, and I think VGF up to 40% is available or will be available for sports projects. It is for state governments and central governments to bid for or invite bids for such projects, and I think VGF up to 40% can be given.
Right. Thanks. That's also very useful for the industry, for the developers. Moving on, Mr. Mittal, to a little long term, and I know Ministry has taken several initiatives to promote grassroots and to identify talent for the future. So one happens to be the initiative with Ministry of Education, another happens to be the Khelo India program. So how do you see the future of these things unfolding? It's a great initiative that now sports is part of the curriculum. It's no longer an extracurricular activity, and these students would be assessed on their fitness, on their participation. At the same time, there are these events which will filter talent right from a block level and bring them up to an international level. So these two great initiatives, and I'm sure they are getting great response. But how do you see these panning out for the future medal hope for the country, which is always a concern for all of us?
So we are doing 4 or 5 things in this for talent search. The first thing that you very rightly said is sports is now a part of the school curriculum, and so we have started under the Fit India program. We have started identifying schools under the Fit India programs where a certain level of sports and or a certain level of physical education will be important. So we have identified more than 2 lakh schools, and by the end of this calendar year, we should be able to find out about 3.5 lakh schools where sports will become an integral part of the curriculum. From there, we expect some sportsmen to come into the sports arena. The second thing that we are doing is we are opening up 1,000 Khelo India centers all over the country. Now, so what we aim is there should be at least one Khelo India center in each district, and there are some districts which have more sports. I mean, uh, you, you can't say that sports is uniform all over the country. So if in some districts there is more sports, we will open 2 centers or 3 centers. So we want to open 1,000 Khelo India centers all over the country. We have already sanctioned more than 150 such centers. So in these centers also we'll provide some grant for infrastructure and some grant for coaching, for hiring of coaches. We find there are places where there are, let's say, 2 tennis courts or 4 tennis courts, but there is no coach. So we'll use this program to hire some coach. So this should again help us in finding talent at the local level. We have also divided the country into 5 zones and then formed zonal committees, which we expect these committees to go up to the block level and scout for talent. All this talent. Then we have also told the national federation, we are also motivating them to start their competitions from district level. For example, the athletics federation organizes championships from the district level. Some federations still start from the state level, but we are motivating them, requesting them to start from the district level. Now, all this will lead to an increase in the number of competitions, increase in sporting culture at the district level, at the block level, and help us in identifying more talent at the grassroots level. Then we have the Khelo India Games. We have 2 Khelo India Games every year. Then we have also started Winter Khelo India Games from Gulmarg. We will have, let's say, 3 Khelo India Games. Now, these games will also help us in identifying talent. So all these through all these means, we hope that we are able to identify talent, and then we want to admit them into our 100 this Khelo India centers of excellence, and then take them forward. I mean, children or athletes who do better should then go to CII centers of excellence and so on and so forth. So we have made a big talent search plan, and I hope that it is successful and we are able to get good talent from the grassroots.
Right. You also briefly touched on, Mr. Mittal, on the coaching aspect, which we all again understand that while infrastructure is important, at the same time, it's also important the level and the quality of coaching which is available to them. While there have been attempts and some kind of funding available both from public as well as private sources, but there hasn't been an attempt to actually create a cadre of international coaches or to groom them or to make them available both at the grassroots level as well as as they go up the ladder. Any views specific to the coaching initiative and how we can improve that aspect of sports in the country?
So under the Khelo India scheme, we are hiring more and more coaches. Till now, we were recruiting coaches as regular employees only under CII, but now we are hiring coaches on contract basis. Large number of coaches we are hiring under Sports Authority of in the Khelo India scheme. If you talk to federations, we are also motivating them to develop more coaches, because you need more coach certification programs. You need more coaches training. I think NIS Patiala also has to be reformed so that it also produces better quality coaches in contemporary, let's say, modern coaches. So we are doing all this. We are also hiring coaches from foreign countries, as you must be aware, and these coaches also help us in developing of Indian coaches. Another initiative that we have started doing is we have started increasing the compensation to Indian coaches. We pay very less to our Indian coaches, very high to foreign coaches. So large number of sportsmen want to do jobs somewhere else, but not in sports coaching. So we are trying to correct that and provide them good compensation even during coaching. I agree that coach development of coaching is more important than infrastructure. In fact, if you don't have coaches, mere infrastructure, you will not be able to achieve anything.
Right, right. Thank you, Mr. Mittal. I'm also conscious of the time. We have just about 5-7 minutes more. And there are quite a few questions which have come from the audience as well. If you allow me, I would also like to. So one of them is from the media, where they're asking how can we attract more CSR funding for Indian sports infrastructure coming from the corporates?
So I will request this webinar to appeal to corporates who might be attending this thing to contribute to NSDF. Contribution to NSDF is part of CSR. You get income tax benefit also under Section 80C, I believe. So I'll request corporates to contribute to sports through CSR. And as I had said earlier, it need not be a general contribution. They can contribute to a specific cause. For example, they can say that we will contribute to hiring of, let's say, foreign coaches for hockey, or whatever they want. They can even specify which coach they want to hire. I mean, we have no issues. So we would request corporates to put in more money through CSR. We are also talking to some corporates, and we hope to get funding through CSR.
And again, from my own personal experience, Mr. Mittal, when we are interacting with some of these corporates, they have always been saying that one of the reasons why they prefer to do their own individual bit than contributing to the state is, one, accountability of where the money is going. And second is, of course, they are somehow not convinced about some of the credible programs. But I think that is now changing with Khelo India coming into the picture, NSDF now coming into the picture. There is a lot of credibility which can come in, and the corporates, instead of doing their own sports related work in isolation, they can probably contribute to a much larger outcome. To totally endorse what you're saying, Mr. Mittal, on that one.
So I will request corporates who are having, who are not fully convinced, to start with small contributions to our NSDF. And then if they find after some time that it meets their expectation, then they can move ahead.
Right. There is another one, and as you know, CII being a industry body, there is a question on when do we see our first unicorn, a startup of sports reaching a $1 billion valuation, and what is your sense on that? How soon can the startups in sport reach a unicorn level and coming from India?
So last week I think I had a meeting with startups. About 15 to 20 startups participated in our web meeting. And we are now trying to encourage these startups and provide them government help. And we would like to select the best startups and provide whatever help, involve them in coaching, involve them in infrastructure, involve them in other things, involve them in running of sports infrastructure that we have. So we would like to involve startups. We have already had a meeting, and in the next 3-4 months. We hope to select some startups which we find are doing interesting job and involve them in sports sector.
Right, that's also a great initiative again. So, probably the day is not far when we will have Uber from sports, an aggregator model where the facilities all over the country are mapped, and one can access and rate and utilize them just like the aggregators, Ola and Uber. So great to note that. There are a few other questions are still coming in. We just have a couple of minutes left, but I would still want to ask you. There is this one specific which is saying, what are your views on the appeals of the overall sports industry being classified as the industry status?
So we had a meeting with CII, FICCI, SHM and others. I think then our minister also took a meeting with the sports manufacturers. So we have identified 5-6 issues which we think need attention. So we have written to the corresponding ministries, that is Ministry of Corporate Affairs or Ministry of Finance. So we have taken it up with them, and we hope that in the next few months these issues should be addressed, so that our PM, Honorable PM, has announced Atmanirbhar Bharat, and we should have Atmanirbharta even in sports code industry, sports manufacturing. In fact, we should become a great exporter of sports code industry, and we are trying to ensure that their problems are taken care of.
So that would include manufacturing as well as services, Mr.
Yes.
Mittal.
Yes.
Okay. Right. So we are almost out of time. One last question, and this is also like the precursor to our next session, which is around Fit India. We would really want to know your views as to how this Fit India mission is unfolding, the kind of impact it has been able to generate, and what are the future plans for the Fit India movement. That's how we are also leading into our next session. The theme of the next session is the Fit India movement.
I think the Fit India movement started as a public as a government movement, but has now become a public movement. For example, last year we had because of pandemic, we had a online freedom run where people were free to walk and run and then make entries. So we got crores of entries, and we about 10 more than 10 crore kilometers people ran as part of the freedom run. So fitness is becoming a big thing, and it should become a big thing because people have now realized that being fit is more important than anything else in these days of pandemic. So I think the Ekta is coming for the next session, and she will tell you that we have identified a year-long fitness awareness campaign starting, I believe, on this Monday, and this will continue for the whole year. So she will tell you how we have divided months for a particular fitness. So we will be having fitness campaign, a large fitness campaign over the whole next year.
Thank you, and that's almost the time that we had, Mr. Mittal. But I'm very thankful to you for making time for this one. And my personal takeaway, and that has been a very positive one, which is all these initiatives of the Government of India, which are now unfolding and already showing impact. So many congratulations to you and the ministry and the Honorable Minister for these initiatives and making them happen on ground. And thank you very much once again for making time for us today. Any final words for CII, how we can work closer with the ministry and do more?
No, thank you very much. I have interactions with CII, I think almost once a month, if not more. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Over to you. Back to you, Samir.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Thank you. And thank you, Sri Mittal, for covering so many different facets involved at the topmost level. It definitely gives viewers and professionals from the sport industry much needed insights on what the current plans are and what's required for India to be on the right track to becoming a leading destination in sports. And as echoed by Sri Mittal, we are all on the right track to host Olympics in the 2030s, which is in line with the Grant Thornton Knowledge Report, which was released yesterday. And thank you, Mr. Sood, for making this one-on-one conversation a highly engaging and interesting discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And now we move on to the next session, which is Fit India for Atmanirbhar Bharat. I request all our viewers or delegates to please go to the CII Hive lobby. That's on the main page, and you need to click on the conference section at the top panel on your screen. Once again, I'm going to repeat. I request you to exit out of this place, go to CII Hive lobby. That's on the main page, and click on the conference section at the top panel on your screen and kindly join session 5, Fit India for Atmanirbhar Bharat. I'll see you on the other side.